Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Corner HVAC. I'm glad you joined me today. Got a couple different things I want to talk to you about, but first I want to say thank you to all the current and future subscribers out there. If you're not a subscriber yet, go ahead and hit that little button down there. You know how to do it. It's YouTube. Then go ahead and check out the channel and see what you can find. There's a lot of videos on there about a lot of different things, so I'm sure you can find something that you like. As well as I wanted to let everybody know that the new books are available on Amazon for Kindle, for e-version or paperback. So go ahead and check it out and let me know what you think. As far as today, what I wanted to talk to you guys about was thermostats. Thermostats, a very simple device. Everybody seems to make them out to be complicated or hard to use or something's always wrong with it. One of the biggest things when you go to a service call or when a tech goes out to a service call, it's not every time, but I'd say it's a good 7 to 8 times out of 10. Everybody always says, well, it's probably the thermostat. Thermostat's no good. Thermostats do fail, and they do fail often, so it does happen, but everybody always blames the thermostat. One of the reasons I think I've figured out why is because this is what everybody sees. You see that thermostat on a regular basis, and that's what everybody's used to. But in reality, this is a very simple device. There's not much to it, really. If you actually look at it and think about it, all it really is a thermometer with a switch. It's basically like a light switch. All it does is it turns that furnace or air conditioner on or off, but it works off a temperature. Rather than a normal light switch you have to flip with your finger, this is fully automatic and it's controlled by the temperature itself. The temperature falls in the house, it closes a set of contacts and energizes the right terminals at the right time to turn the heat on or the air conditioning. Just the same as when the temperature satisfies on the thermostat, it releases those contacts at that point, stopping the system. There's really no other complication to that. And even once we get into smart thermostats that a lot of people go to now, the one I have here is a very basic, simple thermostat. This is actually the one I have on my garage furnace. This is nothing complicated by any means. Now, if you open one of these up, which don't always recommend it, but there's a little control board in there and all kinds of things. It looks real fancy and complicated. It's not complicated. Like I said, it's just a switch. Always think of it as a switch. So even the smart thermostats like the Ecobees, the Nest, there's all kinds of different ones out there that people are going with these days. They have a lot more features and a lot more options, but in reality, it's still nothing more than a switch that's controlled by temperature. Simple on, simple off, and that's it. So most of the time when you actually have a failure of some sorts or you have complication, your system's not working, things like that, if it won't come on, it's not always the thermostat. I can understand why everybody always thinks that it is. It does happen sometimes. So it very well could be what's wrong with yours. But the biggest thing is this is a simple device. It's not complicated. So they're very easy to change out. I would highly recommend having a licensed contractor come out and change it out for you. Simple, easy, relatively inexpensive in comparison to the other parts out there. The smart thermostats are a great option. I always say use digital. Digital is just better these days. You have more accuracy, you have more fine line temperatures and things like that. Some of the old Honeywell rounds that everybody always had, like the T87s. Everybody always said, well, you set it on 72, and it's usually somewhere between 70 and 75. It was a roundabouts number. New ones, digitals, they are usually within half a degree or so of what you're actually setting it for. So I always recommend digital. Then we get into the smart thermostats, like I mentioned before. Smart thermostats are great. They've got all kinds of features and they can do all kinds of things. Even with some of our heat pump systems, geothermal systems, two-stage air conditioners, two-stage furnaces, any of that kind of thing, a lot of those controls can all be done within the thermostat. A lot of the old systems, we used to have to add extra relays, fossil fuel kits, outdoor changeover stats, all kinds of different controls on the system. And with the new thermostats, you don't have to do that. If you're using a smart thermostat, it can all do that internally in the stat itself. So simple on and off switch. That's all that it is. And the other thing I want everybody to remember is this is a switch, not an accelerator. If your system's not working, let's say it's in the middle of the winter and your house starts getting cold, let's say you set it for 70 and now you see it get to 68, then 66, and 64, and it's getting colder in the house, turning it up more doesn't do any different. If you've got it set on 70 and it's still not 70 in the house, if you turn it up to 71, it's not going to get any warmer any faster. It's a switch, not an accelerator. So just the same in the air conditioning, if it's hot in the house and you try to crank it down to 60 degrees, it's not going to get there any faster than if you just put it at 70 degrees. So, trying to speed up the system doesn't work. That's not how it works. Like I said, this is an on and off switch. It's a switch, not an accelerator. So just remember that, because whatever you set it for is usually what it is going to try for. If the system won't come on or there's something wrong with the system, that's mechanical failure in the system itself. And you need to have somebody take a look at it and check it out and see what's actually wrong with it. It's not always the thermostat's fault. Again, they do fail, they can fail, and it happens. They do get replaced. But I talk to so many people, and you show up at a service call and they say, "Well, I already changed the thermostat because I thought that's what was wrong with it." This hopefully can save you a lot of time and money and effort if you have somebody look at it and figure out what the real problem is rather than the thermostat itself. Just putting a new thermostat on it doesn't always fix it. It's just a switch. That's all that it is. So if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, anything like that, hit me up in the comments. You guys know that I love talking to everybody in the comments. I get to talk to people from all over the place about all kinds of things. So just let me know what you think. Otherwise, thank you and God bless.